Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first official, seriously, it's been announced now, episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. This show records every week on Saturdays, there we go, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure to tune in every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If I haven't repeated it, I already did, I won't do it again. So today, I am sitting here with a very special guest because she is the first guest on the show. If she were to write a book, I am certain that this book would be called The Art of Bionicle. And, in fact, inside this book would not be the artwork for Bionicle Generation 2. It would instead be a collage of all of her MOCs, because they are art. Joining me now is Molly Raye, otherwise known as Alieraah. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being on. You're the first. You've gotten that. If this takes off, then you can tell your friends, like, I was first.
Well, you know, they do say first is the worst, so...
See, at least it's better this way, you know, being first in this regard, than being in the comments and going, first.
I mean, I could do that.
No, it's too late. People have already commented.
Too late. First.
Son of a...
Real first.
So, I figure let's go ahead and get into some, standard questions and just kind of kick back and chat. As many may know, you are a MOCist. You mainly work with constraction, although I know that you integrate a lot of system as well. How did you get all the way back into Lego in general?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I had the toys growing up, like a lot of us here, and it was always just one of my favorite things to play with as a kid. It wasn't really until about maybe 2006, 2007 when I started to see people were not only making their own things, but posting them online on that horrible little gallery that Lego.com had. And that right there is what made me really interested in wanting to not only build my own unique thing, but post it online for others to see. And that's kind of just what kickstarted this whole ordeal.
Mm-hmm. I remember that gallery, seeing a bunch of MOCs, and they were all these just catastrophe of pieces all kind of cobbled together.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm sure most of them were god-awful, but... to me, I just thought it was super inspiring and awesome to see, and I wanted to be part of that. So
that's understandable. Yeah. So did you end up getting into that community first, like getting into the Lego message boards, or were you more on BZ Power?
Not involved with message boards at all, to be honest. I had accounts. I was kind of silently lurking in those places, but I didn't really take part in anything. Mm-hmm. I kind of just went straight from the Lego.com gallery into YouTube, and I'm not sure how that jump happened, but somewhere along the lines, I must have been just trying to find stuff online outside the Lego gallery, and came across all these different YouTube videos people were making, and just was like, oh, hey, I have Windows Movie Maker. I could do that too.
Oh, presets, perfect. Intro and outro. Okay, and so this was
with the white font and the blue backdrop.
Yeah, the ones that would slide in to each other and fade in and out. But okay, so this is 2006, 2007-ish.
The YouTube part came in around 2007, 2008. It was really more like 2008 that I started to get super into making videos, so I guess '08.
Okay, wow. It's almost been a decade.
Oh, yeah. Yep, definitely. Bionicle MOCs since the Baraki, so, I mean, one of my first MOCs ever was just straight up a recolor of Takonox, so... it's been going on for a while, this ridiculous hobby of mine.
It sounds like it, but since then I must say, you've perfected your craft.
Thank you.
I have had the fantastic opportunity to see your MOCs in person, and your photography is fantastic, but wow, in person you really get a true understanding of what goes into them, because it seems like pretty recently you've been working in a lot of system for the smaller details.
Yeah, I've come to appreciate system in that regard. It's definitely not my go-to whenever I think of new builds, just different designs and whatnot in my head whenever I'm bored waiting for something to happen. But, it can help because system does have a lot of those little tiny intricate sort of pieces that you can wedge into places and just generally make it look nicer.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to experiment with that a lot more recently.
Interesting. Huh. Because I'm sure I'm going to want to come back to this at some point, but I hear a large criticism of Constraction is its quote-unquote incompatibility with standard LEGO. Like, a lot of AFOLs really don't like it because of that. But, I mean, I see it used very often to really complement and enhance Constraction MOCs, so it seems like an odd critique.
I think it depends on what part of Constraction is being referred to. Because if you think back to like G1 Bionicle pieces, the overall just design and shape and texturing of those things were very odd and very unique. And in comparison to some of the classic bricks and the smoother designs that those tend to have, it makes for quite the clash when you stick them both together.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But when it comes to action figures, like right now, pretty much all we have is just the Star Wars Ultra Builds, or whatever they're called. The pieces used are very smooth, the CCBS shells and whatnot, and I think that those in particular work very well with system in terms of texturing and being able to integrate the two.
That is fair. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Because another large criticism of Constraction in the 2001 to 2010 era, and a little more in the Hero Factory as well, there was no consistent aesthetic. I remember that is a massive criticism of the old style, and that's why a lot of people love CCBS, because it was intended to be what it said it was. It was a system. So,
oh yeah, definitely. And it makes for a problem even with just straight up Constraction MOCs that don't really use much, if any, system at all, where if you have G1 and G2 parts kind of mixed together, it can look a little strange sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. Between the two, which have you found kind of easier to use, if there's been a difference, like CCBS and in the standard older Technic-based system?
It's weird because just maybe about 2 years ago, I absolutely would have said G1 pieces. The kind of old Technic-y standard, absolutely 100% would have been arguing for that. But as I've expanded my collection of CCBS and, just like to say, got the hang of using it more, I definitely favor those pieces more than the older style. I feel as though there's something about them that's easier to use. I think the shapes of a lot of them are very nice and make for good silhouettes whenever you're figure building, and just they're kind of my go-to answer for problems now. like, oh, can I just slap an armor shell on here? Yeah, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, if the shoe fits, place it on a MOC. But no, I've been hearing that a lot, that people will start out, it's like, Technic-based? Heck yeah. And then switch CCBS.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? Whenever the end of Bionicle G1 was first announced and everybody online was going insane, I was one of those people who was like, protest LEGO, sign the petition, don't let them kill this theme. So, yeah, it took me a while to kind of undo that thought process, but I've really come to appreciate where LEGO has brought Constraction.
Yeah, absolutely. I was right there along with you. It's like, okay, LEGO has committed a grievous crime. We make them pay. Obviously, that has... we've moved on from that point.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I feel like I'm going to be hearing that a lot more about CCBS, because it's so consistent. It follows certain building rules that the old system really didn't. But, okay. Around... Let me see. Oh, there we go. That was it. So, pertaining to LEGO themes, and in communities. Obviously, you've been heavily involved in Bionicle, and you're a constraction MOCist. I think it's safe to assume that's your favorite Lego theme. Do you have any others of mention?
Just Lego themes in general?
Yeah, just general Lego themes. You like Exoforce, Hero Factory.
Oh, I mean, Exoforce, everybody loves Exoforce. I mean, come on.
Thinking. Fair enough. Shouldn't even mention it. It goes without saying.
I honestly haven't heard anybody say that they didn't like Exoforce. But no, I mean, there have been themes here and there over time that have caught my interest, such as Exoforce or I can't remember the name of it, but it was like one of those aquatic themed sets.
Oh, like Atlantis?
And like yellow and black stuff, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
They had all the sharks and whatnot. I quite liked that theme. Ninjago, not the recent sets, but all of those kind of ghostly themed sets really got me interested.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, elves all the way, elves every day.
Elves has been killing it with the sets recently.
Yeah, it's just, what got me hooked to begin with was the dragons, but
yeah.
myself picking up elf sets that don't have dragons in them, and I'm just like, where are my priorities right now?
Yeah. One thing that I didn't realize, because I don't buy elf sets. I love how they look. They do a great job with that style. But when I went to a store and saw the boxes for the first time, I was kind of taken aback, because those are really unique box designs. Like the kind of...
They do stand out.
Yeah. Alright, yeah, no, Elves is pretty great. There are a lot of construction parts in Elves. Like, they recently recolored some, I want to say size 5 shell pieces in, like, that really, really bright green.
Yeah, saw that.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
And just generally some of the pieces that you can get off those dragons, which is why I was going for the dragons in the first place, are, like, it really just compatible with construction in general. So that's what got me into it. I'm still a little upset by just the minifigure doll things that the more girly geared sets tend to have, just because they can't move, and that bothers me. But whatever.
I completely understand. Did you see the Netflix show for Elves?
I have not yet, but it is definitely on my to-do list.
Okay, that makes 2 of us then. I mean to. I haven't either. So, like, if you had and talked about it, I would have been spoiled. But, okay.
Well, spoiler-free.
Awesome. I've heard it's really, really good, though.
Yeah, I've heard some good things. I've heard some nitpicks about, different voice acting and animation choices. But in general, I heard that it's definitely worth watching. So it's on my to-do list.
I heard that at the very least, it was better than Journey to One, which I guess isn't saying much, but, 1 out of 2 Netflix
Journey to One set the bar pretty low.
Yeah, I guess that's another good question. How did you feel about... Obviously, you felt fairly strongly about the first time Bionicle was canceled. What about the second time? Because that's only a year old now.
Oh, God. I literally did not care.
That's not good.
I literally did not care. I was so excited whenever they announced G2 because, Bionicle was obviously a huge part of not only my childhood, but what got me into this community and what I continue to do in it. So the fact that they were bringing it back was just exciting to me for nostalgic reasons. And Brendan and we stormed like Walmarts and Targets and everything looking for the sets as soon as they came out. We were just buying all of them on a whim because we could. and it was generally a lot of fun. It was super exciting, but by the time that it just went downhill and they announced the end of it, I was like, no, you lost my interest. It was gone. The skeleton villains were not that great. The changes that they made to the Bionicle story, I can understand it, but at the same time I can't. It didn't really hook me in like G1 did, you know? So
Yeah.
I didn't really have any strong emotional feelings towards the theme like I did with G1. So at the end of it all, I was just thinking, you know, so long as I still have constraction sets or pieces for constraction that I can work with to continue MOCing with, that's all I really need.
That's understandable. Yeah. No, I remember that those first like 5 months, the lead up, and then the 5 months after G2 came out were just so exciting. All the new stuff.
Oh yeah, extremely. Like it had been years since I felt that kind of excitement about picking up a Lego set, and yeah, it's kind of disappointing that it just kind of deflated, and that's how it died. But oh well, I guess. I if there's anything that I'm upset about with it, it's the fact that the G2 Makuta was not a set.
Don't remind me. I don't even want to think about it. Like, I have G2 Makuta on my shelf, and I don't even want to start to begin to think about the instructions. I just Tearing
you down, LJ. Judging you.
At the very least, Lego thinks that they're pretty good, so got that going for me. But yeah, no, I completely understand. Since Bionicle has kind of, you know, obviously petered out, have you thought about getting in other Lego themes and their communities, like going to different sites, or just sticking with YouTube and Tumblr and Flickr? Wait, you're on Flickr, right?
Yes, I'm on Flickr.
Excellent. Okay,
You can find Lego, like mainstream. I pretty much have an account there.
Okay. All right.
It is up for debate, but you know, no, I'm not really looking for like a new community to kind of fit into, and I guess it helps that the stuff I'm building isn't directly related to the kind of Bionicle universe or anything like that. So I'm just sitting here using the pieces, really, and like I said, so long as I have pieces to work with, I'm just going to keep building. And as far as the community goes, as far as I'm concerned, you know, whoever enjoys my stuff will follow me, and I'll follow them, and that's the community right there for me.
Okay, I see. Now you're more into. You come from a very different side of the community than I have been accustomed to, because you're part of, you know, aforementioned Flickr and Tumblr, especially Tumblr and what's very commonly associated as BioTube. I am completely unfamiliar with both of those things, because I came from like BZ Power and then the TTV message boards, and then TTV never really fit into kind of like a BioTube sphere. So what is that kind of like? What is the difference between BioTube and these communities that aren't centered on a board? And yeah, basically, what's the difference between them?
You know, it's kind of hard to define, because between each of these websites, you're going to find completely different content. First of all, BioTube is essentially dead by this point. There's not... There really isn't too many people still posting MOCs there. There's definitely still people posting Lego-related content and Bionicle-related content, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of moved away from original creations such as MOCs or stop motions or, you know, fan whatever content, and more into actual, like, serious, high-quality, kind of well-produced videos such as reviews and the like, and podcasts, kind of like, you know, this live stream that we're doing right now, you know, stuff like that. So the original community that was there whenever I first joined in like 2008 is pretty much gone, and they've kind of just either moved on to other things or other websites at this point. But
interesting.
Everything else, in terms of everything else, is just kind of, you build something, you take pictures of it, you post the pictures, and either commentary will start off of that, or I know a lot of people will tend to kind of, especially on Instagram and Tumblr, they'll take kind of caricature pictures of their creation. So they'll build a MOC and they'll put it in a funny situation, make like a comic out of it. And,
yeah.
And that can be kind of fun sometimes too. So
Yeah, no, like photo comics. I remember on BZ Power when comics were a very big thing. Photo comics are also a hefty part of that.
Yeah, Tumblr definitely has a lot of photo comics on it just because of the way that the uploader works. It works well with making kind of. So you do see that quite often there.
Huh, I didn't know that. I have an account because like I was asked to get it because that's where the TTV front page is hosted, but I've never once used Tumblr.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your taste for the community. I would say Tumblr can be a rather controversial place at times. So
yeah, I've heard that about pretty much every facet of the website. So it's
yeah, that it applies to Bionicle too. So if you're gonna go to Tumblr, go with caution.
good to know. That is good to know. But I'm always interested. Like a lot, they have a lot of fantastic stuff there. Like I was shown yesterday somebody who's on Tumblr is making these custom masks, like these custom resin masks, and like for instance, a mask of water for Galley 2015 in just solid yellow.
Oh yeah.
And they looked phenomenal. Like he's really working on that. So
Is this from Socket Ball?
yeah, that was him. Yes.
Yeah, he was at Brick Fair this year, dude.
Yeah, I only found that out yesterday. I was like, what? If I had known, I would have said hi.
Yeah, he was there, and he was selling some of those masks too. A bunch of people got some.
What the heck?
Oh,
I wish I had known.
I'm sorry for your loss.
No kidding. I could have. A lot of those masks look like prototypes because, like, I don't know when they stopped doing it. I think they ran out, but a few years ago, BZ Power, they were given a ton of Generation 1 prototype parts from Lego, and they'd go to these conventions, and if you went and said hi to them, they'd give you a prototype piece. And those masks by Socket Ball? Socket Joint?
Socket Ball.
Socket Ball. Man, I'm goofing it up now. They look like prototype parts and high quality.
They do look like prototypes, but you know that's kind of what's cool about them. I think
it's awesome.
Yeah, because I got a solid white Golly 2015 from him. So
that sounds so cool. Are you gonna use that?
Eventually, I mean, I might as well use my bragging rights if I have them, but I'm not sure what to use it on yet.
Yeah, I don't know what I would ever use a mask for other than a mask, because like I know a lot of people will use masks as torso armor, shoulder armor, occasionally even feet, and that is so outside the realm of capability for me. I don't even begin to think of that. How does that start? How did that thought process begin when you're building and you have a piece and you're like, I want to use this in a way that this really hasn't been thought of being used before and it's going to work? How do you go about that?
I'm just going to go ahead and assume that it's probably different for everyone because I know a lot of people I've talked to just about MOCing and techniques and whatnot. They all kind of approach it differently, but with me personally, it's not so much about looking at the piece and saying, oh, this is a mask, so it's used for a face, or oh, this is a foot, so it's used as foot. It's more so about to look like what is the end result that I'm trying to picture in my head here. And when I'm building the MOC, I'm taking into consideration what that end result should be and what that silhouette should look like. And if the piece fits in the silhouette that I have in my head, then I'm going to stick it there.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, so to me, it's just generally more about shapes and where they fit together, like a puzzle.
Okay. Interesting. That is fascinating because I've only dabbled in MOCing every so often. Like the MOC I'm proudest of was at Brick Fair, and that was difficult to just make a custom torso. It's like, where's the Anika build? I need a crutch. Torso. Oh, thank goodness. Obviously, I have no grievances against the Unica torso, but I didn't go that route. But
no, I mean, I use Unica torsos all the time.
Yeah, I guess that's another question, because I remember when it first came out, everyone was super pumped. They were like, "Yeah, these guys look awesome," and by 2007, they're like, "Okay, move on. We need something new."
Yeah, we're done here. No more.
That's it. We're done with the Unica build.
Speak of this age. Yeah.
And I remember in the MOCing community at the time, they were like, anybody who uses the Unica build is just being lazy.
Oh, yeah. There was this just... Not just about the Unica torso, but about prefab limbs in general. Like, anything that was not custom was essentially, like, minus points on your MOC in terms of coolness. And that is just a really awful mindset to have looking back on it, because everybody thought that way.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
Yeah, at one point I remember Toa Shadow that Brendan made way back in the day had custom everything. Like, even the head underneath the mask was custom, and everybody thought it was the coolest thing just because it had custom everything. And it was like, okay, this is the standard. He made a custom Metru head. You know, we all have to live up to this now.
Oh my goodness.
But, I mean, once that kind of mindset died down, and I mean, it's not totally gone. I've still had people, you know, freak out about using non-custom designs such as the Unica torso still to this day. But once you're able to kind of go back and revisit those pieces that you have essentially banned yourself from using for 8 years, they're actually really good pieces to use.
Yeah, aren't they? It's like there are a lot of really... they can kind of help structure things. Like, I haven't managed to figure out a way to use them outside of what they were advertised as, but still, really good.
Yeah, because, I mean, I have several kind of larger scale MOCs that use an Unica torso as a torso, and it works, man. I mean, I don't know what else I'd use, so let's just use it.
Yeah, and I cannot speak ill will of your MOCs. They're just so intricate and detailed.
Oh, thank you.
Not a problem. So I guess that's another thing. What do you think about when it comes to the reception of pieces? And I guess this is a really great way to get a look into the community as it was shifting from Technic to CCBS. When it comes to community reception to new parts, do you tend to wait until you have them, or do you kind of speculate a little bit before, you know, when you see them and say, huh, okay, I can use this for that. That looks pretty good. Let's go this direction.
I think that kind of varies depending on the piece, you know, like right now we've got a new wave of Star Wars figures that just came out, and everybody is freaking out over the red one. I'm gonna go classic not Bionicle fan calling Tahu the red guy here with this, because I'm not a Star Wars fan, so the red one. Everybody's freaking out over it because not only does it have a new type of armor, but it has these red Hordika necks and you know, recolors and stuff, and everybody's like, oh my god, that's so good, that's so useful, look at these recolors, oh, it's beautiful. And I agree, it's definitely cool looking, but at the same time, I have no idea what I'd use those pieces for, so I haven't even picked it up yet.
That's understandable. Ooh.
But, you know, at the same time, or working on a MOC that I know uses a certain kind of color scheme or whatnot, and I see a set pop up that has a lot of those colors in it, especially if it's a new mold with that color, I definitely jumped the gun on that. I'm like, yeah, I gotta pick that one up. And I build it and cannibalize immediately.
That makes a lot of sense. What do you think of Chewbacca?
Oh yes, the Chewbacca.
Listen, I like Chewbacca. I was gifted Chewbacca. I really like it.
That is one of the ones where I can see that might be useful for MOCing if you need the brown.
Yeah.
Personally, not a single part of that set would be useful to me, and I don't care enough about Chewbacca to spend, what is he, $30?
I think he's 35.
Oh, good God! Okay, $35 to have Chewbacca just stare at me? No, thank you.
But the feet and he's got brown shells and he's got like the dark brown like CCBS torso piece that the 2015 toe were using. And it's like he's got
that torso piece would probably be the most useful part of the entire thing, in my opinion. The shells don't really get you too far because they're hairy.
Yeah, no, they have that awful looking texture to them. That print, it's like. You couldn't have given us just one.
Unless you're hairy, or maybe you could pull off like a bark texture with it, but that's about all I can think of.
Yeah, no, I agree. The other problem I have is that it kind of has officially cornered the market on Bigfoot MOCs, because all you really need to do is take like a really blurry photo of it, just kind of off in the distance. And wham, you're done.
I didn't realize there was a market for that.
If there isn't, there should be. I want to see that become a thing.
Oh, there probably will be now.
I hope so. That would be so entertaining to see people try and come up with these different ways to make big feets. The Bigfoot persons. Okay, so
just Photoshop the Chewbacca to a forest picture.
Yeah.
Look, guys, I found Bigfoot.
There was a picture going around pretty recently. Like, someone in California took a picture, and of course it was this blurry mess of a photo. And they were like, check it out, I found Bigfoot in middle of nowhere, California.
Well, I mean, given all the forest fires, he might not be doing too well right now.
Oh, no, I forgot about that. Oh, my gosh. Oh, no.
Run, Bigfoot, run!
Barbecue Bigfoot. So when it comes to being Bionicle fans, we often attribute, a favorite. There's one that we really like, so I figure it's decent enough to ask, which is your favorite Bionicle set? And outside of Bionicle, do you have a favorite Lego set in general, or are the two the same?
Oh, that question is so hard.
Sorry.
Favorite Bionicle set out of everything. Oh, man.
You can only answer with one.
Let's see. It's so hard. Oh my gosh. I'll answer it this way, and it's going to probably be a really just disappointing answer, but here it goes. There's only one Bionicle set out of all of them, and I collected most of them, mind you. There's only one that I still have together, and it's the green Vaki.
Vorzok?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Sure. Vorzok, the Vaki were cool. Green is great.
The only one I still have together after all this time. Don't even ask me why. I don't know. He's my friend.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of understand that, because I have had a oh goodness, what was the name? Keelarak? The Green Vizorak. I've had him around for like years, so I get it. I understand.
No, okay. All right. I guess a more serious answer. If anything, it would probably have to be Lezovic.
Oh.
And the reason I say that is because when that set came out, I was like in tears. Okay. I was begging my mother to buy it for me. Absolutely just begging her. I'm like, please, let me get this set. Please, I beg you. He's so beautiful. And her response, mind you, we're in the middle of the store, and I'm holding this box. Her response was, what are you going to do? Marry him? And I said, yes.
What?
I said, yes, I will marry Lezovic. And she said, fine, throw it in the cart. So she bought me Lezovic, and I guess he's my husband now.
Okay. I have a lot of questions pertaining to that specific scenario. And one of them is, how did that explanation work?
I don't know.
How did she... Okay. All right. This can be forgiven so long as somewhere along the line you get a tiny little constraction-sized tuxedo and just take a picture of Lesovic in a tuxedo as if he were being married, and then you're good.
I could revamp Lesovic to be wearing a tuxedo.
Gosh darn it. See, I'm sitting here going, it'll be easy. We'll just make like a cloth tuxedo. It'll be perfect. But you're over here going, we'll mock one. We'll make it.
Yeah!
And I didn't even think of that. It's like...
Don't back down, LJ!
I don't think of these things. I'm not a creative person. But, okay, that's fair. I guess the flip side is also what's your least favorite of anything. And why is it Qatar?
My least favorite Bionicle?
Anything. Bionicle set, Lego set, just in general. It's a broad question.
Again, difficult.
What was that?
I completely butcher the first time.
My apologies.
Sunsets.
Which one was that?
I'm trying to think of an answer.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, it's like you just cut out a little bit there.
Yeah, no, it looks like there's some connectivity issues, but we'll work through them.
Awesome. No, I'm just thinking, out of all the sets that I've gotten, which one was I so disappointed with that I took apart immediately?
Is it Qatar?
No.
Because for me, it's Qatar. Well, I didn't take them apart because I didn't review them, but it's like...
Poor Qatar.
It's not a good set. It's like, I have never once, in my 12 or so years of being in the community, been disappointed by a single set, which is a fairly strong feat. And then Qatar came into my home and let me down.
I just lumped like all of the Avmatorn together and just call that a set.
That's a very controversial statement, believe it or not.
Oh yeah?
Trust me, I agree with you. They're not very good. But boy, oh boy, is that something.
I mean, they're made out of like 5 pieces.
Yeah, no, it's strange because there's in my opinion a tie between the Avtorn and the Mictorn for the worst objective Bionicle set, simply on the merit of their lack of articulation and for no other reason.
Yeah.
But
I'm thinking the Avmatorn because they're just kind of there.
Yeah. Nah, they're just...
I mean, at least they had a little bit of, I guess, characterization to them. They were a little unique in that regard, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely understand. So, as we draw to the close, and by close I mean in like 20 minutes, I have a few questions here that were sent in via email. Now, for anyone listening, if you have any questions that you want to send to a guest over the week, go ahead and send me an email at ljjohnson@gmail.com. And for anyone listening right now who wants to ask a question live but didn't get their email in, go ahead and tweet the question at the Eljay Johnsen and hashtag the Eljay Johnsen Show. It's a lot of my name. I sincerely apologize. We did get a few questions in from an individual by the name of Coco, and they had 3 questions for you. The first of which being, have you ever had mock block, and how did you get out of it?
Well, I've definitely had a mock block. I have mock blocks all the time, actually. It's horrible.
Understandable.
I honestly don't have a surefire way to get out of it. I wish I did. If I did, I wouldn't have mock block so much, I'm pretty sure. But if I'm really struggling, like after a few days, even a few weeks, to get anywhere with MOCing, and now mind you, I do build MOCs very quickly. I can build an average MOC of mine within just a couple of days, so a MOC block lasting a few days to me is forever. Some sort of like just outside, completely unrelated to Lego sort of media to absorb and hopefully inspire me. You know, watch a TV show, play a new video game, that sort of thing.
That's
Maybe that works. Usually that works, but then again, you never know. Sometimes you just kind of have to sit there and be angry about it until your hands work again.
I see. That is an interesting way of going about it. Because I would just get frustrated and go, you know what? I'll come back to this. And a year later, I will think about it and then push it off again.
A year later.
Yeah. All right. In that case, the second question is, and this, I'm going to read the entire comment here. You've made some, in my opinion, fantastic non-humanoid and animal/creature MOCs. Do you have any tips or experience you can give from building them?
Use reference material. Building humanoids. Yeah, building humanoids is kind of, I would be inclined to say, more natural for people to do, since not only is that what a majority of Bionicle and Constraction is based on, but you know, we ourselves are humanoids, and so we kind of understand the general shape and anatomy of them. But when it comes to building something that's non-humanoid and more creature-like, definitely use reference material to kind of get an idea of what anatomy that you're going to work with. Like the Obsidian Panther that I made not too long ago, I stared at so many pictures of tigers from like every angle, you have no idea. I was just looking up wildcats on Google to try to find decent pictures so that I could get a basic understanding of 3 dimensions so that I can build it as accurately as possible without it looking horribly out of proportion.
I see. That is understandable. Okay, so use a lot of reference photos and...
Yeah, I mean, unless what you're going for is just completely weird and alien, in which case just go ham on it. But if you're trying to do something that's more realistic and grounded, definitely look up references to what you're trying to pull off.
That makes a lot of sense. That is a very... That is a good way of doing that. It's a great answer. Huh. Okay, in that case, Coco's final question to you was, what is your MOCing philosophy? In other words, what makes a good MOC to you? Is it the build, texture, posability, look, etc.? I've heard many different thoughts on this, and I would like to know what your take is on it.
Yeah, that's kind of a complicated question, and I think it totally varies from person to person. Like, you're always going to get a different answer no matter who you ask.
Okay. Well, in that case,
I like to go... Yeah. I like to go about thinking of it in terms of, you know, a good MOC would be whatever you yourself think is a good MOC. You know, if you made it and you're proud of it, then in that regard, it should be a good MOC. I mean, you put time and effort into this thing, and that, I think, is worth something. But if you're going to ask for my opinion on other people's MOCs, I think it's a little bit of everything. You know, I value MOCs that are more like action figures as opposed to sculptures. You know, I want to be able to look at this thing from 3 dimensions. You know, it shouldn't just have an open, exposed back. It should definitely, you know, be filled in from all angles, and you should be able to kind of move it around and play with it at least a little bit. I definitely value that over something that only looks good from one angle in one position. Not to say that those look bad, because sculpture MOCs definitely do look nice, but if you were to tell me to pick between the two, I would definitely go for the one that's more action figure-like.
Interesting. Because I've definitely known a lot of folks who feel the contrary, that they really do like those well-sculpted MOCs, even if they sacrifice their posability. But I completely agree.
Oh, yeah, and I mean...
I like them being in different poses.
Yeah, and I'm no stranger to doing that myself. I have a handful of MOCs that I have built, which... totally lacking in certain areas, particularly with the legs on some of the larger ones that I've made, simply because I needed them to be sturdy and stable, and so I have had to sacrifice that well-loved posability of mine in order for them to be able to stand upright and look decent.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely see the value in having something that's a sculpture and pretty to look at, but personally, to me, you know, these toys started as a Lego version of an action figure, and I want to keep my own MOCs true to that as much as possible.
That is completely understandable. I agree, because, you know, Bionicle, you know, the constraction figure premise is that they can pose and you can build them and that it can do all these things. And again, your photography is really great, and I think that your goal is really evidenced in your photos, because you do put them in a lot of really well articulated poses. So, and I think you've definitely pulled that off.
Well, you know, I want people to be able to see what they look like from all angles. I want them to be able to see that, you know, it's filled in from all angles, and I want them to be able to see what it can do, since, you know, a lot of people won't have the pleasure of being able to attend a convention and be able to actually see it and handle it in person.
Mm-hmm.
Which is awesome, by the way. Go to a convention if you can.
Yeah, do you let people hold your MOCs?
Depends on the MOC. But several people at Brick Fair this past year asked if they could hold Mesky and, you know, play around with Mesky, and absolutely, yeah, I let them.
Huh. I had no idea. Like, I was there and I just didn't know that was happening. I'll break out into a cold sweat if somebody even looks at my Miru.
Just asked if you could just, you know, handle Mesky or handle Alieraah or whatever, and I would have given you a yes or no. Like, no harm in asking.
Yep, no, that is fair. The no is the only answer to a question unasked. Let me see. So we do have one question from Twitter. This comes from @DarkSakanuva, and he asks, Alieraah, what are your top 3 personal favorite MOCs that you have made?
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of similar to the what's your favorite Bionicle MOC? Kind of a difficult question.
Yeah, I'm sitting here staring at the shelf right now, thinking, well,
whoops.
You know, all my answers are probably going to be recent because, obviously, the more recent things are going to be more fresh and valuable in my mind. But I think I'm going to have to go with, and probably the Obsidian Panther.
Okay.
Yeah, all made this year. Those are the 3 best received by the community right now in terms of being featured in views and comments and whatnot. So,
Understandable.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, those are all the fan questions I've been sent in. Coco did have a couple of questions for me. I'll just spit them out real quick. Do you have a release date for your Bionicle MOC project? I do not, but it is almost done. Do I have images of your 2014 self-MOC, or were they completely erased when Masho shut down? I have them. I can put them back up, but I don't have plans to right yet. And do I plan on posting 2017 self-MOC? Yes, but definitely not a high priority. So, thank you very much, Coco, for sending in those questions, and thank you, Dark Takanuva, for yours as well. If you have any questions for the current guest, go ahead and tweet them at the Eljay Johnsen, hashtag the Eljay Johnsen Show. And if you have any questions for guests in the future, go ahead and send me an email with your questions, and we'll try and get them in before the end of the show next week. So, we're going to go ahead and start winding down. But, tell me, do you have any plans for the future as far as convention attention? Oh, wait. Attending, not attention.
Yes, I'm paying very much attention to those conventions all day.
Forgive me. Are you going to be at a convention?
I mean, it's hard for me to plan those things out because the way my life has been going the past 5 years, I don't know where I'm going to be in just a few months' time. But it'd be nice if I would be able to continue attending Brick Fair or at least a similar sort of Lego convention should one arise that's more local to me than Brick Fair, because getting from Rhode Island to Virginia is quite the haul.
Ooh, yikes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh, do you drive there?
No.
Okay. That's a good
No,
thing. That's a trip.
It's a series of taking a train, as well as, at least this past year, Brendan driving down from New Jersey, so...
Okay, so kind of a half and half. I see.
Yeah, I pretty much took a train to New York, and then from New York to New Jersey, and then we hiked it down by car from Jersey, and it's just... It's a several-day process.
I can see that. That's understandable. But
Yeah.
that's a lot better than coming from somewhere like California. And that, whew.
Yeah, because then you'd have to take a plane and all that.
Yeah, not a big fan of planes personally. If you can avoid them, I recommend it. But that may
Yeah, I've never had to take a plane anywhere. I've never had the privilege.
That's fine. I think you're not missing out on anything super stellar. You're good.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Nah, not a big fan. So before we wrap up, I figure it would be best to bring up, you are also on a podcast. You're on the Gearbox podcast with Brendan, often known as Shadow Gear. Tell us a little bit what that's like, and how that kind of came to be, and where you plan for that to be going.
A podcast?
You're on the Gearbox podcast. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm on it, but to be honest with you, I don't really know what kind of plans Brendan currently has for it. As far as I'm aware, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, which is not following any schedule whatsoever and uploading whatever we have time to record.
Oh, what a carefree upload pattern.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's just, myself as well as Brendan, and occasionally we'll have a guest on just talking about related or community related or life related, you name it. And it's more so of just kind of a hangout, casual conversation, as opposed to a more refined recording.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, unfortunately there isn't really a regular schedule, because none of us have regular schedules ourselves, but as far as I'm aware, that's still a thing that's happening.
Okay, cool. Well, in that case, I will have to remember this question and bring it up with Brendan when he's on, because, I know you guys have a lot of fun with that. I've been on before, and you guys are always fun to talk to.
Well, thank you.
So, all right, let me see. We got a few more minutes here. So, how do you like life?
And everybody, this is how LJ tries to buy himself some time.
Okay, here. Brickheads. Do you like brickheads? I got a brickhead.
Do like brickheads. Do you like brickheads?
They're quaint. They're brickheads.
Quaint. Yeah.
That is actually at least somewhat a decent question. When it comes to collection, because I'm an avid collector. It's no big secret. But I know that a lot of really great pieces, a lot of really great sets are exclusive to conventions. Does that bother you at all? Because I know that's a pretty controversial subject nowadays.
I mean, it can, but for the most part, it doesn't really bother me too much, just simply because, there should be some sort of incentive or reward for attending those sorts of events, so I can see why they do it.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have that trans blue 2015 Golly mask, but that'll never happen, so,
Oh, yeah. It's a neat mask. I don't know. I think that the fellow on Tumblr, I think he's working toward making that as close to the actual Lego piece as possible. So
yeah, well, thankfully we have people like him doing God's work, so.
Yeah. No, I think it's a cool piece. That's what I was going to ask. I knew I had a question, and now we're 5 minutes till the end, but I figure this is at least a place I can bring it up. So, when I was a moderator on the TTV message boards, one of the worst topics to handle were mock topics pertaining to female-styled mocks. And usually when this topic had been posted, the topic, that the MOCist would post and be like, hey, look, I made a mock. And would be promptly eviscerated by the community shortly thereafter. Big problem. Never really got solved, far as I'm aware. You are in
it hasn't.
I feel that you are in a unique position, being a female MOCist in the Bionicle community, which I don't think it's any secret that is not a common title. And you make a lot of female mocks. What is your perspective on that? And do you suffer these same critiques and criticisms and complaints that others do?
Okay, first of all, I definitely do suffer the same criticisms and complaints and whatnot, and most of them that I've gotten came from whenever I was posting to the TTV message board. Not to say that the boards are an awful place, but I definitely got most of the female-related critique from there. Mm-hmm. Instagram being a close second. But yeah, I can understand where the criticisms come from. Heavy on mocks with emphasized features such as, breasts and hips. Mm-hmm. The larger they are, the more feedback you tend to get.
Feedback. Yeah, and you get a lot of feedback.
And I can definitely understand why and where that feedback is coming from. I can understand the stigma against having a mock that is deemed, either too inappropriate or too scandalous, and how it might be cliche and feeding into this kind of edgy trope type and all that good jazz that I'm sure everybody has heard or seen before. Mm-hmm. Though, I feel as though it can be to base your critique on that alone. If the mock is built poorly and the proportions are off, definitely critique that all you want. But just by, pointing out certain aspects of the body style choice, the body type, a totally fair comment to make, because let's face it, there are plenty of people out there in the world of all sorts of body types.
Wait. You tell me that they're not all very almost skeletal like me?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the only one I've ever known.
Of all sorts of, different shapes and sizes naturally, both men and women. And so I think that that's something that can be explored when it comes to artwork of any form, then that includes Lego.
Interesting. Okay.
And I have seen people... This brings Tumblr back. I've seen a lot of people on Tumblr actually they deem inappropriate because of the body type used, and call it sexism, and that it's putting down women. And let me just say, as a woman, it's not putting me down. But thanks for trying to be a good sport about it.
Okay, we have that on the record, so feel free to relay that to anyone necessary.
Woohoo!
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I'm glad to have gotten your perspective on that, because I know that it was always a headache dealing with it. Every time I would see a topic like that, it would be an immediate, oh great, no, oh gosh, my community reputation is going down the tubes trying to handle this. So I'm glad to know.
Oh yeah.
It's not an isolated event.
I can imagine that must be a difficult thing to try and moderate, considering that I've had problems moderating it on my own posts, so...
No, it is... It's not fun, by any stretch of the imagination. So, alright, well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. Where can people find you? Wait, no, hang on, that came out wrong. Where can people find your online presence? That's a much better way of wording it.
Yeah, okay, let me just hand out my home address. I can be found most actively on Flickr, Instagram, and now Brickly, because that's an app now.
Oh.
Have you heard of Brickly?
I saw you mentioned it. I don't know what it does though.
Yeah, it's just a Lego exclusive app basically. It's not made by the Lego company themselves, but will soon be a web app where you can post stuff that you make, or even if you aren't a MOCist, you can post Lego related content, and it's actually a really cool way to have something exclusive to the AFOL community in general. So I've been on there a lot recently.
Interesting. Brickly. Standard spelling brick and then Ly?
Yep, that's it.
Huh. I'll have to check that out. That is interesting. So, but people can also, they'll find you there. They'll also find you on,
Flickr, Instagram, Brickly, Tumblr, DeviantArt, YouTube, Twitter, you name it, I'm there.
I will try and link as many of those in the uploaded version of this video in the description as I can. So
well, if you had to pick one, I would say Flickr.
Excellent. Okay, good to know. Well, thank you very, very much for being on. It has been, as usual, a bunch of fun talking with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm glad I was able to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are, of course, welcome on any time that we can schedule you in.
Yeah, if my work schedule allows for it.
Of course. Thankfully, today, it did. Whew.
Thank goodness for days off.
No kidding, right?
Yep.
All right, well, once again, thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who has been listening. Hopefully, the live stream experience has been smooth, I hope. But if not, then fear not. It will be uploaded to the channel officially as a static video. Well, wait, no, static upload. It will stay there very soon. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask the next guest, and if you're wondering who that guest is, go ahead and check out my Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen. You'll find out every Tuesday which my next guest is. That was a poorly worded sentence. And if you want to ask them a question, feel free to send me an email, eljayjohnsen@gmail.com. It's not the Gmail, it's just at Gmail. I am really, really not doing a good job with this, so I'm going to end it very quickly. Thank you all very much for listening, and we will see you all next Saturday. You have a great day.